Hey guys, this week's podcast features Chef Chris Daigler from Encore. Chris came down, talked about his start in the culinary world, the struggle of competing with chain restaurants, and the local culinary scene. Let's get to it.
When we were trying to schedule this, I think a couple weeks ago, you mentioned the Shays season is kind of like upon us, I guess you could say. When does that start to pick up?
I believe it's the first week in September where it's kind of curtain up.
Okay.
And at Encore, we don't get much for that because Shays has kind of taken over that whole scene.
Yeah.
Where they are offering food now, and they do kind of want to keep the people there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's good for the community, and it gets a lot of people out, and there's a ton of people that go.
Yeah.
But our Shays season is a huge drive for us. It's kind of our engine.
Well, before you said it, I actually didn't even put those together, but it makes complete sense.
I think a lot of the restaurants around us, whether it's Bambino, even Soho might get a draw from it.
Bacchus,
certainly
maybe.
Bacchus does, yeah. So I think that, that kind of drives those restaurants down there, and it's great to have that clientele that is going to experience your food and then come back downtown for that food.
Yeah.
I think it's a struggle trying to get these people from the suburbs to come downtown to go to maybe Pearl Street, somewhere where they're not familiar with, something kind of out of bounds for them.
Have to worry about parking.
Right, and parking is an issue. I mean, it's always going to be an issue, but I think that just getting them in the door, having them experience the food, and then have them have a memory of us in their head.
Yeah.
So then, maybe in a summer night or something, there's something going on downtown, they're gonna think about us, and I think that's a real great draw for us because that's a clientele that we want. We want that, 30 and up crowd. Not that we dislike younger people, but
no.
I think we want those foodies. We want those people that are used to going out. They're making an evening of it. They have the money, the means to do it, and it's a good experience for them to come downtown, have a good time, feel safe, feel secure, and experience, our downtown dining in a new light, and Shays is the draw. So for us, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's got to be amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Is there kind of like a preparation for when it begins? Does it actually pretty ramp up? I mean, those extra couple nights a week?
Yeah, it's crazy. We'll do, it's so bizarre. We'll do 100, 150 dinners in the matter of an hour.
Wow.
So, if you're familiar with the restaurant life at all, it took me a while, and I was fortunate because I was working at Oliver's, and we actually saw Kleinhans. Henry's at Kleinhans.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw that. I was there in the beginning, and I saw the conception of it, and we learned very quickly what has to happen. How can we serve things that are going to be excellent, and people are going to go away saying this is really, really delicious food, and not compromise the food in any way, but be able to put it out, in an hour maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and fill up the entire dining room, do 100 and whatever covers, and then hear a pin drop when everybody leaves.
That's insane.
It's bizarre. It's but as a chef, that's I think a lot of us, that's kind of why we do it, is that thrill, that
oh god, that's got to be a rush.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible rush, and I think that's what we all like. We like being in the middle of that craziness. And what I like to do, I always thought of as an orchestra, I'm the conductor or whatever, but I'd like to slow time down and just kind of make every movement count, and you really have to do that.
Yeah.
And I like to try, and we have a show menu, which makes it a little bit easier on us.
I was going to say, do you have a menu that's kind of helps with that?
Yeah, we do. It's a show menu. It's, we offer a choice of super salad. It's really simple. And then a choice of chicken Asiago, grilled salmon, a pasta dish, and a flat iron steak. So they can have that availability to that menu. And we also offer sushi as well.
Yeah.
So they have that availability, but we found, I would say maybe 40% of the diners do that, and then the other 60 will order right off the menu.
Nice.
So we're, exactly. So we're trying to make it easier on us, but, is everybody going to order it?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But I like doing that because it's, it is easier for us in the back of the house, but, I want them to order off the menu. So I've really enjoyed seeing the progression and seeing them order and go off of that menu.
Nice.
And then, or maybe they'll get that menu to order an appetizer or something to start.
Yeah, try something different.
So the menu is kind of for me and us to make it easier, but, I like them to experience the menu the way they should. So.
Yeah, you still want to show off the full potential of what you guys can do.
But also like when you think about it, like we were alluding to earlier, with the parking is $10-$15.
Yeah.
Then your Shays tickets are, I don't even know,
God,
$50-$60. I don't know what it is. So you're already at like $100 a person or whatever, $100.
Yeah.
Before you even stop in a restaurant. So we wanted to try and offer a menu that's going to be a good price point, and you're gonna go away feeling you got some value, where the evening didn't cost you $300 just to go see a show.
Exactly.
Because obviously in Buffalo the economics aren't that great.
There are not a lot of people who can do that.
Exactly. And obviously if you're going to Shays, you do have some expendable income, but we don't want to hammer them over the head. Is what the thing is there.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that probably brings in. I mean, obviously, probably an older demographic.
Absolutely. Dependent on the show, to be honest, we've had, it is some older people. It is some younger people. It's a good mix.
Yeah. Do you want to?
No, I don't care about that. Just some other. That's funny, right?
We can.
No, it's cool. So,
no, but I mean, yeah, some shows that you're going to have, like the Book of Mormon or something like that.
Right.
It's going to be a pretty young crowd and things like that.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, the older people is fine.
Yeah.
And we're in the hospitality industry, so we're going to try and cater to them as well as we can. Unfortunately, the majority of our dining tables are upstairs. We can only fit maybe 30 downstairs and probably about 70 upstairs.
Okay.
So we try and utilize the upstairs as much as we can. So, wheelchair access, obviously they're not going up the stairs. So we try and get it, an even mix, but it's hard with older people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately we can't accommodate everyone downstairs, but
yeah.
it is what it is.
I think I've only been there once. I think it was during restaurant week, and I ate downstairs. Yeah. So I actually haven't seen the full upstairs.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a vast space, and the brick walls, and it's just a really cool looking restaurant.
Yeah. I think one of the cool things though about Encore is, I think to certain demographics they could have a completely different idea of Encore.
Oh my god!
Like, I mean, we talk about the Shays crowd, but I've spent many an evening in the back patio, where I mean it's where it's definitely like one of the more busier bars.
Let's talk about that, Donnie.
Do you want another one of these, or
it doesn't matter. Yours are probably colder.
All right.
I guess to answer your question in full, the hardest struggle I've had being a chef is to make these people like you're referring to,
like the younger kids who are going down there to
the 21 to let's say 28-year-old, 30, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
To try and have that mix, because you're right. We do kind of turn it into a nightclub. We have a DJ at night, and we have an awesome nightlife.
I mean, it is one of the most popular bars down there.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And I've been saying since day one, like every bar down there has their run. Soho had an extremely long run.
Oh God, yeah.
When I was a kid, I don't know how old you are, but the Bradford, the House of Quinn,
yeah.
All these bars were extremely busy, and that like there would be one bar that you would have to go to.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I think it's just because we are kind of off the strip, and you're not going to Chippewa.
Yeah.
I think that's why it gets busy, but I have no idea. It's been such a bizarre thing. But to answer your question, I guess is like that's been my biggest struggle is trying to separate, and we are a fine dining establishment.
Yeah.
I want these night dwellers. I want these kids to know that they could come in. Yeah. I don't want to say kids, but these.
Let's be honest though.
Right.
A lot of
them
are kids.
Okay. Sure. And I've had these ideas of we have on the outside patio. We're fortunate to have this huge patio.
Yeah, it's great.
And I wanted to just put like signs up that say, "Do you know we have food?" Because as funny as that sounds, with the traffic at night, we might have 400 people in and out of that building.
Yeah. From
midnight to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I want them to know, like, hey, if you
want some sushi,
right? You 8 girls could come here and have sushi, lettuce wraps, experience the menu, and you guys are paying like under $20 to get something in your stomach, before before you continue on in your evening. But I designed the menu in that way to, when we started conceptually thinking about this menu, I was very fortunate the owners kind of gave me complete control of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do coming from Oliver's was create a menu where everyone will be happy. Whether you want to spend $100 a person or whether you want to go, you're 21 or you're 20 years old. Even my nieces, are 19 and 20. I want them to be able to come with their boyfriend, spend $40, and they got a great meal.
Exactly.
The gentleman could get a flat iron steak for $21 and she could get a couple sushi rolls. They're both happy, or vice versa. I tried to make the menu diverse enough to where, you could come in and get a lettuce wrap or a lobster rangoon or a beef tip appetizer and walk out, you're at like $30.
Yeah.
Because I feel like all these chains, it boggles my mind. Like I grew up in Clarence and I watched this evolution. Like when I was growing up in Clarence, there was really not that much on Transit Road.
Okay.
And I saw this evolution of all these stupid chains.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Transit's...
it's absurd. It's just absurd.
I say that you pass by each chain at least twice if you drive down Transit long enough.
Without a doubt. Donnie, without a doubt. Whether you go north or south, wherever you're headed, you will absolutely see all those names. And I'm not even going to name them because I don't want to support them at all. But I wanted to have a menu that, kind of concentrated on that where, like, all right, I'll bring one up. Say Chili's. Like, you're going to, $30. Maybe you're spending at Chili's, whatever it is, or Outback. You could go to these places, spend $30, $40.
Oh, yeah, easy.
And that's what I wanted to spend. Right, and that's the thing I don't get is, like, these people go to these chains and spend the same amount or more than they would at an independent restaurant.
Exactly.
And I feel like there's just so much great food in Buffalo that... Why are you supporting these national chains like Red Lobster? I mean, what the fuck is going on? Where you're going to spend collectively, if it was a 4-top, you're spending easily, $150 where you could go, and have an incredible meal anywhere else in the city, any local place.
Go to Viking Lobster and get a way better.
Yeah, why aren't you going there? Is it because people don't know about it? Is it because it's the travel time?
I've struggled with this. I mean, I think part of it is comfort. I think if they go to Red Lobster, that dish that they get is going to be the same dish that they've had for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But I think there is a misconception that chains are cheaper.
Yes.
Which is completely wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and it's definitely a comfort thing, but... Okay, if you say that, then Hutch's hasn't changed their menu in, 30 years?
Yeah. So
I think there's just something to say about consistency. And, what you're alluding to is like, say, my niece or my sister, I keep bringing them up, but, they actually like Red Lobster. Like, if it's their birthday, they will go there. And I'm like, really, Kim, my sister, do we have to go there? And she's like, well, that's what she wants, whatever the fucking bread, whatever.
Goddamn biscuits.
They want the captain's platter, whatever the hell it is. And it's like, but you're right, though. There is that comfort thing.
Yeah.
But I also feel like in the same sentence, like places like Hutch's, places that haven't changed their menu in however many years.
Yeah.
That's why you go there. Like, you're going to go there and you're going to get, going to Hutch's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you're going there for that. So
Yeah.
I think you have that same thing with the chains. And as sad as it is, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And how do you get people away from that? I don't know, man.
I mean, that's what we've been trying
is it commercials? I don't think so anymore because everybody DVRs anything.
Yeah.
Is it, what's getting into your head or are we just like patented already? Like it's just drilled in our heads so deep that we can't get it out.
You know what I think it might be too? I think a lot of the people who, I hate to generalize, but I think a lot of people who go to those restaurants don't eat out a lot.
Right.
Like don't go to dinner a lot.
Yeah,
and so when they do,
yeah,
it's probably maybe a select time and they want to make sure they don't have a bad meal. Like I've had arguments with people where they refuse to try things because they're convinced if I hate it, then I just wasted all this money.
Right.
And I don't know.
But
I've just never thought like that.
Yeah. And I mean, we could talk about this for days, but I think a lot of it has to do too with like, as far as my personal experiences,
Yeah.
you know, when we were growing up, we would go to this place called Ship and Shore on Tonawanda Creek.
Yeah.
And it was a local place, and we would have fish fries. And so I think the stigma in Buffalo for years and years and years, they want their fish fry for $8.95. They want their bread, their coleslaw, their pasta salad, or their potato salad, and their fish, and they want to spend $10.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2013. Let's get a grip. You know what I mean? And I think that you have. I think that that's what's going on in their mind. Also, I feel like, and maybe as a fault of our restaurant owners, but not as of late. I think in the past 5-10 years, I think that local cuisine has been exposed more and more and more and more.
Yeah. Whether
Whether it's you, whether it's Krista, whether it's, however, or Buffalo Spree, even Galarno, not to discount him, but I'm saying you guys have done a great job of saying we're not chicken wings anymore.
Exactly.
We're not fish fries.
Yeah.
We have places in Buffalo that are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And
that could stack up nationally, I think.
Without it, I mean, look at the influx of people from Toronto.
Yeah.
Like that Ivy Knight, exploiting Buffalo. She's out of her mind, but I love her. She's she thinks of Buffalo as her second home, and it's so comforting.
Yeah.
This is a woman who's posting pictures on Instagram of her and Balud.
Yeah.
And her and Renee.
Renee Redzepi.
Are you fucking kidding me? And we're in Buffalo. We're this little town where people think we're chicken wings.
Yeah.
And we're not, man. So I think that I think there's an evolution. I think there's a ball rolling.
Yeah.
And I think the ball's going the right direction. But I just feel like, you're not going to change that demographic in Amherst. I think it's going to take a while to get the suburb people.
Oh yeah.
To say, you know what? Yeah. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Not necessarily just downtown, but in the city as a whole.
Yeah.
Even Williamsville, to Bree and Bruce and what?
Yeah. I think he's. God bless him, because he's fighting the fight out in Snyder, Williamsville. Yeah,
I mean, and then there's places like Sienna, who's been a gold mine for years. I was, I worked at Oliver's, and I saw that place. They're busy every single night.
Damn.
And it's I used to make the joke because it used to be a bank. It's like a drive-through moneymaker because but I think people realize how good that was. And, if you want to talk about menus, they've had a lot of the same things on there for years and years and years in consistency.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what drives the people back. But yeah, the chain thing just drives me nuts, man.
I mean, I can't imagine. You go on a Saturday night, you walk into an Olive Garden and there's a 2-hour wait.
Oh my God.
And how many restaurants would kill to have?
Oh, Donnie, you have no idea. I'll talk to I keep, my sister lives out in Williamsville. My parents still live in Clarence, right down the road from each other. And I have a lot of family that live out that way. And it's they'll tell me about that. Oh, we had to wait an hour. Well, why are you waiting an hour? Oh, well, we can't put our name in. Put your name in. What is wrong with you? Drive 15 minutes somewhere else.
Yes, anywhere.
To get anywhere. I hear about them, and then they branched off a couple months ago. They went to Zoe, and I haven't dined there yet. Yeah. But they said they had a great time at Zoe, and I'm
it's a nice little Greek place.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, why did you go there? Oh, because whatever. I don't even want to say. And, they were booked up, so we decided to try Zoe. Try it? What do you mean try it? And my mother is she reads a paper every day, so I know that she's read a review on. Every restaurant that Galarno's reviewed or whoever's reviewed, she knows these places exist.
Yeah.
But just can't get over it, man. I don't know.
It's hard. I think it's all those combinations of comfort and afraid to spend money and have a bad meal and thinking that it's going to be more expensive. All these, I don't know. People have just created these images in their head.
But also when you say having a bad meal, that drives me crazy too. What do they think is you could have a bad meal anywhere?
True, yeah.
And not to dismiss that, but how bad is your meal going to be? You might, and I feel like the people that have these quote bad meals have these quote bad meals because they order things and they don't know what they're doing and they're not an educated diner, which boggles my mind because I feel like with the Food Network.
Yeah.
With all these things that are on television, with the internet, with everything, Pinterest. I just found out this Pinterest thing. I thought it was for chicks. Honestly, Donnie, a couple months ago,
I would say it's predominantly chicks, but yes.
Yeah, but dude, okay, sure, it's housewife chicks, like, but I go on
a lot
there,
of wedding planning.
Yeah, right. It's like shoes, like, you know, I see the chicks at work, they're on their phone and they're like, oh, have you seen these things I found these on Pinterest, like boots, whatever. Okay, and it was funny because the one waitress is like, oh, you should check it out for culinary stuff. I'm like,
yeah, there's a lot of recipes.
I'm like, what? And it didn't even dawn on me. But what's funny about using this Pinterest thing and all these things is like as a chef, I could go on there and find something like, wow, you did what? Like using a muffin tin to make cookie dough cups, like all these little housewife niches. And that's just like a fun thing to say.
Yeah.
But like, I'll go on there, but they have like, you know, there's molecular gastronomy on there. There's recipes on there. There is serious stuff on there. But the thing I like about it is like, unlike Google, you go on there and you could type anything in, say, duck confit, you type in, and then you have like, you know, maybe 80 or so pictures of this item, and then you just double click it and you're on the website. Wow. So like Google, if you Google like duck confit, you know, you might be like 4 or 5 pages deep.
Yeah.
You know, before you find something that as a chef may inspire you, or
or
you're something you'd give a shit about, or you know what I mean, like, you know, some sort of weird thing that you might actually use, where like Pinterest, you're looking at the pictures, and I'm a visual guy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of, I'm a visual guy in that if I see something, you know, I know whether I'm going to use it or not.
Yeah.
But I just feel like this Pinterest thing is like, and I kind of feel weird every time I do it. But the reason why we did it is because like when we redid our website, so we have, it's still not working, but that's beside the point. Where if we post something on there, it'll instantly go to all the social media sites,
like Twitter, Facebook, yeah.
Right? Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, whatever the hell, you know. And I'm not a younger guy, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm into all this stuff,
yeah.
And it's just kind of fun, like seeing this whole progression. And then the Pinterest thing really caught my eye because, you know, I could type in like the other day we were doing some balsamic pearls, and we added agar to some balsamic vinegar and then dropped it in oil that had been steeped. And I'm making pearls without the addition of sodium alginate. And so I'm making these things, and they're coming out perfectly without using it at all. And I found it on Pinterest.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, bizarre. I know. I don't know how people are going to think about me saying this. I don't give a shit, because they should try it too. But
now,
it's
like,
just funny.
Oh, man. Now I'm going to have to, like, sign up for Pinterest. And
oh, dude, I'm going to catch so much flack.
God, like, James Roberts is going to sign up.
Oh, Roberts is probably on there for sure. He's, you know what, we should hashtag Pinterest right now.
Yeah.
Hashtag Roberts. He's probably got his own site. He's got all sorts of shit. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Guy's great.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Let's, I guess I kind of want to ask, I didn't know too much about your background, except for the Olivers, and then we had Rick Crichton down here.
Sure.
And he mentioned that you worked under him for a little bit of time,
I did.
right?
Yeah. So I'll go through the whole...
how did you even end up in the kitchen? Like, was it something that you wanted to do, or was it like a 16-year-old kid and you're like, what the hell?
Exactly. So I was 15 years old, and I started a place called Port of Entry.
Okay.
And who knows about that place? I don't know anymore. But what it was a restaurant on Campbell and New, kind of by Libros.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Biblos now. Biblos.
Oh,
Biblos,
yeah. I work right around. I work in Gettsville. So
okay,
yeah.
So you know exactly where I'm talking about.
Yep.
Now that place is called Port of Entry, and now I started as a dishwasher there because I needed a job when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I always thought the cooks were so cool.
Yeah.
And one of the cooks was Steve Muley, which is my close friend Mike Muley's older brother. So we kind of had this instant connection, whatever. And Carl was the chef. And this guy, Sean Nudie, was another line cook who was absolutely out of his mind. Like, we had an old wood cutting board as our expediting area. And he would, like, take the chef knife and just chop the shit out of the board. Like, this guy was out of control. Like, I would walk out back, they'd be smoking cigarettes or whatever, and he'd be, like, throwing knives into cardboard boxes. Like, it was my first kind of introduction to crazy chef life, I guess.
Yeah.
And being a dishwasher,
the personalities.
right, exactly, yeah. And so there was, traditional things, Mornay sauces, like we always talk about it, peppercorn melange. Like, we were doing things there that were, roasted prime rib, potato au gratin. We, every day we'd put in the baked potatoes, the sweet potatoes, like just real traditional garbage. Like twice baked potatoes. They used the fucking flake potatoes with like dried chives. Like, dude, I could go on and on about this place, but honestly, I learned there like this is cool. Like this is pretty neat. Like putting out this food, and just the dynamic of the kitchen and like between the servers. And we were busy there for a while, but it kind of dropped off.
So did you ever get a part of that rush that like?
Oh yeah, so
you saw like that.
So I started
hand?
as a dishwasher, and then like I talked to Carl the chef, and we used to have like this chess club, and we'd play chess. And,
chess club.
Oh yeah, dude, it was serious. So like that's how slow the place was. So, like on Sundays, we'd play chess and whatever.
That's amazing.
Well, whatever. I enjoy chess like everyone else. So,
no, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like on Sundays we'd like play chess, whatever. I actually got blown up there. That's a funny story. I'll tell that in a minute. But at that place, I kind of realized like this is something that interests me. Like because my mother, God bless her, she wasn't like the greatest
home cook.
Yeah, we'd have like leftover night. Like she would take a pork tenderloin, this poor pork tenderloin, and she would like coat it with like dried rosemary and olive oil and put it in the oven for like 3 years, and it was just like the most dry thing. And then I realized that we had A1 steak sauce in the fridge.
Yeah.
My father like hated the smell of it.
Yeah.
So like I would have to keep it covered, and then I could use a little bit of, but he hated the smell of the vinegar. Like it was just bizarre growing up.
So you're saying that food was not like a passion of yours as a child?
I think that the food growing up kind of caused me to go in this direction to where I needed to figure out how to cook for myself pretty quickly.
Okay.
And I feel like, maybe that's why I took that job, whatever. But then, so then I became so anyways, to answer your question, I became a cook there. And then I went to Libro's. I was at Libro's for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Where I learned kind of the Italian thing, and that was even more bizarre over there. It was just an engine over there. Like, they do this, they were busy constantly, and, we were always making sauce. We're always making meatballs. We're always like, it was intense. And, there'd be like maybe 10 people in the kitchen where, you'd be doing a bunch of to-goes. They have like this pasta bucket. The food's really good there. The vinaigrette, I still think about, to be honest with you.
I had that for the first time like 2 months ago, and I loved it. Like,
the house vinaigrette.
Yeah.
Honestly, delicious. Like, honestly, I still think about that vinaigrette to this day because it was like, it's so good.
Yeah.
But it was just real traditional Italian, and I think I learned there, like, maybe this is something I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really know why I left there. I think for a better opportunity, or maybe something happened. I don't really remember, but I ended up at a place called Danny Ocean's, which is owned by the late Andy DiVincenzo and his cousin. And so Rick Crichton was the sous chef.
Yeah.
Steve Goldstein was the chef de cuisine. And Andy was there intermittently, sporadically, and because he had Billy Ogden's going still at the time.
Okay.
But it was a really weird mix of people. It was, people from Black Rock, or not Black Rock, Lovejoy.
Okay.
So it was like Williamsville kids and Lovejoy kids. And here we were integrated together, and it was like a bunch of Italian guys, and I'm German and whatever. And so I got the job there, and we opened the place. It was like this whole... We had meetings before it opened, and we were like, going through the menu, and we had these tests, and it was kind of like it was pretty rigorous for an opening of a restaurant. Thinking back at the time, because this was, I think, 97.
That seems like kind of a switch though between kind of doing it because you like the crowd and like. That seems like doing it because you really want to make good food.
It totally was. And, I was going to school at the time. My sister was going to school, actually, I think around the same time. And she was always very smart, and she always got great grades, and she was going to be a teacher, and that's something that I was going to pursue. So I was going to Buff State at the time, and this is kind of like a side job for me.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to move out of my house. I wanted to get out of my parents' house. Like, every 18-year-old, 19-year-old wants to get out.
What were you doing at school? Like, what were you going for?
To become a history teacher.
Oh,
but I was taking 20th century European history. I was taking biology, chemistry.
Wow.
I was thinking all these things like, oh, these will be easy classes. No, fuck it. I mean, I'm not a very, studious person, I guess I would say. Like, I enjoyed school, but I just felt like lost at times. Like, I just didn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
It wasn't the environment. And I think in the kitchen is where I felt the most passionate, and I felt like this is fun. Like, I'm doing something. I'm making someone's night happy. I'm making someone's evening a little bit better, through this work I'm doing.
Yeah.
As quick as it goes away, I'm creating something very beautiful and passionate for someone to enjoy, and it's gone in a second.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I kind of enjoyed about it, was like, we're doing this, but it's just a thing for one night, for 10 minutes, for an hour.
Yeah.
And you might change someone's evening. Maybe they're getting laid. Maybe they're, maybe they're having a better night. Maybe they impressed their girlfriend. Maybe they impressed their mother-in-law. Maybe
exactly
whatever it might have been. Somehow I contributed to that.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
And that's when you started to pick up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so working with Andy was pretty interesting because it was like the first chef that was really completely out of his mind. Like, he came in and he was always wearing a white coat, white apron, white pants, wooden clogs. And he would come in the kitchen and he instilled a lot of great practices with me, and as did Rick Ryden. I mean, Rick was coming from sake, so he had the whole Asian inspiration thing going.
Yeah.
Like from udon to sushi, and then we had Andy, who was like this Italian chef, so like his stuffed peppers, obviously.
Yeah.
Risotto, gnocchi. Like, we used to make gnocchi together all the time, Andy and I, and it was amazing just to see like how I could take potatoes and flour and egg and oil and make this beautiful little dumpling pillow, and it was beautiful, and the way he served it was good, and like I just really enjoyed working there because that's where I kind of made my turnaround to this is we're putting out really good food here.
Yeah.
Because not that Libro's doesn't, but like it was a whole different thing.
Yeah.
It went from like casual dining to fine dining.
Yeah.
Instantly, in an instant. And, the guys that we were working with, had been around the scene, and they were really cool. And they, that's where I kind of was like, oh, this is really good. And Rick Ryden was a big benefactor of that. Like, he, again, was out of his mind, too. Like, I would walk in, and he would, have the prep list done. I'd walk in at noon or 1 o'clock, whatever, for my shift. And he'd be standing there yeah, I had 12 sleeves today, guy. All hopped up on espresso. He's like, I got the whole prep list done, bro. There's nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, set up your station, get it all working out. Because I was I was kind of like the bitch. I was like the runner. Like, I would get the guy the steaks. I would open clams. I would open oysters. I would do all the kind of back of the house stuff. We did an impinging oven in the back. And, so I was kind of like the bitch, I guess. I'll admit it.
You gotta be.
Yeah, but in doing that, I also got to see the dynamic of sauté and grilling and expediting, and I watched all these things from kind of the back of the kitchen and watched them work together and watched that whole synchronicity happen, and was like, that was really cool just to see that go on and watch these guys do it, put it out, dude. This is how you do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
And so, did you ever consider going? As this is happening, was the idea of going to school for culinary coming through? Or?
So Danny Ocean's closed one day. Yeah. I came into work one day and Andy's got his pickup truck and a box fan, and he's like, this is done. And I'm like, okay. And I knew Andy at this point. It had been a year and a half. We knew Andy. I knew Andy really well. He's a great man.
Yeah.
And he's really funny, really fucking down to earth. And I came up and he's they're loading ovens out, they're getting this shit out of here. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, well, we'll stay. And we end up staying. And I think we went back to Crichton's house and obviously did whatever we did and drank a few beers and just kind of what's the next step? We just lost our jobs. It's closed, which is always a weird feeling.
Yeah.
So then a couple weeks later, I got a call. I'd moved out at the time. I was living at One Hughes by Canisius.
Okay.
And I was living with some Canisius hockey players, and it was always a crazy time. I'd come home from work, and they'd be hammered. It was a crazy, a frat house.
My wife dormed at Canisius for 4 years. I'm very familiar with that.
So that was my environment at the time, and I came home, and they had known that I wanted to work at Oliver's. I wanted to work for Mike. If I was going to do this, if I was going to invest my time, I wanted to work with the best.
Yeah.
Period. So I came home one day, and on the message on my answering machine, because we had an answering machine, how bizarre is that? it was Mike Andershevsky saying, you know, I got a call from Rick Kreidner, Steve Goldstein. You know, I heard you're interested in a job here. You know, I need a line cook. You know, you want to come down? So I wore, and to this day, he'll say this, I wore a suit and tie, or not a suit, but I wore a tie.
Nice.
And I remember the whole thing, and like, but when I came home and heard the message, I thought my roommates were like playing a prank. Like I listened to this message, and I'm like, that's not him. That's not Mike Andershevsky. They're like, oh yeah, dude, why would we lie? And I'm like looking around, and they're like looking at me, and I'm like, I just don't buy it, man. So I called, and so anyways, the interview. So that was really my turning point, was when I got the job at Oliver's. And
yeah. How was that interview, by the way? I mean, Mike can be an intimidating guy.
So yeah, I think the only reason it wasn't as stressful as it probably should have been was just because I had known, you know, what he was all about, who he was.
Yeah.
You know, I really had mad respect for him, and you know, I wasn't as nervous because I had that kind of foot in the door with, you know, Rick Kreidner and Steve Goldstein, and maybe even Andy as well.
Yeah.
Because Andy worked there as well prior to opening Billy Ogden. So I think that, like, having that kind of foot in the door didn't make me as nervous, but I was he was when I first started working at Oliver's, it was like the craziest position I've ever held. Like my first day at Oliver's, I'll never forget. So Mike hires me, and you know, I started working that week. And Michael was going to Hawaii for the first time, where he gets all his inspiration, the Pacific Rim. Like, this was kind of
a precursor of Tsunami.
Without a doubt. And also a precursor of Michael's passion and flair for Asian food.
Yeah.
And I think that this trip kind of sealed it for him. And so it was a weird thing. Like, here I am, I start the job, and Michael's leaving for, I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks. And so I didn't really work. I worked with him maybe like a day. And obviously his mind was on Hawaii. Like, you know, not that he wasn't, you know, but it was just kind of bizarre. So now I had the sous chef, which was Eddie O'Donnell, and he was fun. But Eddie's real particular, and you know, I still talk to him to this day. Like, it's funny how you breed these relationships in restaurants where, you know, you'll work 50, 60 hours with a person, and it's like family. You're like a brother. I mean, you could do anything. You'd kill someone for these people. So Eddie, I remember my first day or second day at Oliver's, because the first day I just kind of shadowed. So the second day, I had taken off some mashed potatoes. Now at Danny Ocean's, we had made like 4 different kinds of mashed potatoes. It was like a roasted sweet potato banana mash. It was red bliss mash with like Asiago and cheese, and then or basil, and then there was like a roast garlic mash, and then there was just a traditional palm puree. So I'm making mashed potatoes at Oliver's for the first time. So I take them off the stove, and I go downstairs where the Hobart is, and I'm like, and I ask the grill cook, Mike Simpson, who's also awesome. And I'm like, you know, how do you guys make your mashed potatoes? And his response is, if you don't know how to make mashed potatoes, you shouldn't fucking be working at Oliver's. And I'm like, bro. And I'm like, you know what? This guy's kind of right. But I was like, yeah, okay, fine. I get it. You know, but like, are you going to use white pepper? Are you going to use milk? Are you using heavy cream? Are you using, you know, how are you, like, that's my questioning. I'm not asking how to make fucking mashed potatoes. How does Mike Andershevsky want his potatoes? Because people are weird about their consistency of their potato.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't think it was a weird question. And that was his response. So from that day forward, I kind of watched myself. But later that week, another interesting thing that happened was I was started off as a grill cook. So it was like, you know, maybe a weekend, Mike was still gone, and they kind of let me take the lead on the grill. And I was really anal about my fucking, I obviously I still am. But that was kind of early on as far as like temperatures and steaks and stuff. And it was a strip steak, and the guy had ordered medium, and there was a complaint that said it was overcooked. So the sous chef, Eddie, was kind of expediting. He's like, you don't know how to fucking cook a steak? Like, laying into me hard. I'm just like, yeah, well, I go, dude, I'm telling you that steak is spot on, bro. I'm like, come on, let's take a look at it. So the steak comes back, and he's like looking at it. He's like, yeah, I guess it is medium. And like kind of like validated me. Like, I felt better because he was like screaming at me. Like, you shouldn't fucking be here. You don't know how to fucking cook a steak, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. But Oliver's really made me feel the passion, feel the
I mean, like the fact that I think a lot of people have that turning point where it's more they enjoy the profession and then they start to actually really have a passion for the food itself and,
Without a doubt.
and like creativity and things like that.
Yeah, and you know, working with Mike, I mean, you know, it was such a different thing. You know, Michael would come in and he was, you know, he had been at the Rue, he had all these things, all these techniques that were just so different from coming from Danny Ocean's, and being able to watch him and watch his mind work. And you know, I say to this day, like, I owe not all, but like, you know, a vast majority of what I've learned from Mike Henryshevsky. I mean, he's been my mentor, he's been my friend. He was the guy that made me decide this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And Michael's just an amazing person. And at the time, you know, I just kind of, I say I learned through osmosis. I literally, like, the guy would yell at me. He would throw hot pans at the fucking wall. Like, this guy was insane. And I thrived on that because I wanted to be the best guy that worked for him, because I knew that, you know, maybe someday he's not going to yell at me. Maybe someday, right? You know what I mean? I didn't want to be that person he yelled at. I didn't want to be that person he got angered with. You know, because there were so many other things that were happening at the restaurant that caused that, fed that. And I wanted to be that guy on the line that, you know, never caused a problem. I wanted to put his food out exactly the way he wanted it every single time.
That's awesome.
And I think that's where I gained my passion and just kind of like respect for ingredients, bringing things in that I've never learned from. And like, I mean, there was so many things that Mike made me do, like pig's brains. Like, I remember one day we were doing like a butchering thing. Like, Mike taught me so much, but like one day he's like, we had a pig, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna break this thing down," and I don't know what we were doing at the time, and he's like, "Oh," takes the head off, and he like cracks the skull, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna eat the brains." I'm like, "Mike, I don't know." I go, "All right," you know. He goes, "Well, if you don't fucking eat them, I'm gonna fire you right now." Okay, all right. So he scrambled them up, and I'll tell you what, they were actually quite delicious, but. That was like kind of the way he would teach is, you know, not necessarily like, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, watch this.
Yeah.
Like, not very like technical, but it was always like hands-on to the point where when you watched him and then you did it with him.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't more like, he's just an incredible teacher. And that was really my segue for being a chef. It was working there, and then I was like, I'm done with school. I finished a semester at Buff State, and I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, because this is what I enjoy. And I ended up becoming a sous chef, and I just really just like fell in love with the craft.
Yeah.
And it was the craft. And Michael is just such a great teacher and just such a great inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah,
just,
I mean, his legacy, you know, in Buffalo alone is, you know, he's the guy. I mean,
I remember the day. He decided he wanted to open Tsunami. Like, I was just lost. I was like, really? You're leaving here? I remember, I think maybe I was like the third person that knew. You know, he told Henry, obviously his wife knew. And I remember, like, I was a sous chef at the time. I'm like, Mike, really, you're going to do this? He's like, well, this is what you do this for. You know, Hutch had opened his restaurant. You know, when you think about the lineage of chefs, great chefs that have gone through Oliver's, they've all gone to open up their own restaurants. Yeah. So I mean, the natural progression.
That article that Julia Burke wrote about the tree that you could base off of Oliver's is amazing.
And not to discount Henry in this whole conversation either, because Henry is a genius, obviously. He is the greatest restaurateur that Western New York has probably seen and will see. Yeah. Just because of the timing of it and his persona, and just that was the other thing about Oliver's was, you know, not only Mike, but you have to live up to the standard of Henry and Oliver's. Yeah. You know, and Henry was just such a great teacher as well. I mean, he would come back, he would be in the kitchen with us, he'd be like clipping. His biggest thing was clipping out articles and pictures and recipes, and come back and say, "What do you think about this? What do you think about?" And right, but it was really cool because I had never seen an owner have that much passion. Yeah, and you know, him going to the CIA, I think, had a lot to do with that. You know, he is a chef, and I've been to his place in Canada where we had like a chef battle. We had an iron chef with him and his wife Judy and my girlfriend at the time, Christine, and like it was a real chill situation. But like they had a grab bag, and me and Henry like went toe to toe, and it was fun. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, because like, you know, but that's the kind of guy he is. You know, it takes a while to kind of gain that relationship with him, and he is kind of restrictive as to who he lets into his world, I guess you would say, but rightfully so, because he's just such an amazing man. I think that that was the first time I saw an owner really just kind of like not control the kitchen, but have a good say in the kitchen as to what we're putting out, what direction we're going to, and what we're trying to do here as a whole. And it was the first kind of feeling of like real family, like we really got, we really knew each other. We would do, we would really kind of work together, and it wasn't like where a lot of times, like I felt like after, when I was there too, when I was the chef there, it was like all these chefs like in the area were like battling each other.
Yeah.
Why? What's the point of that? Like, I understand, like, chefs have egos. You can say that till you're blue in the face and whatever, but like, why aren't we all working together? You know, like,
it definitely seems like that's become more of a thing now, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like last Saturday, we all got together. Ed Forrester started this organization or group called the Saturday Push. So last Saturday night, I was late. Mike was late too, by the way. But I was walking up to a location, and Mike was in front of me. I'm like, "Hey, chef, are we late?" And he didn't turn around. I'm like, "Chef, are we late?" I'm screaming. He turns around. He's like, "Oh yeah!" So they let us in. It was a group of local chefs, and basically what the organization or what we're trying to do is just kind of get together. We're all unique in our own way. Yeah. And what's the point of saying, I'm going to take away a client from you? Like, is someone going to go to C-Bar because it's better than Encore, or is someone going to go to Encore because it's better than C-Bar, or is someone going to go to see Bistro Europa Steve?
Exactly, yeah.
Is someone going to go...
No,
we don't know.
There's plenty of meals.
Right. There's plenty of places, and why... We're not competing against each other.
No.
When you think about the group of people that was there, like Michael Barca, okay, that's Italian food. JJ, that's barbecue. That's Torches. Yeah. Adam at Crave now is, we're just all eclectic in our way and all completely different. Yeah. To where it's not, why have this animosity? Why have this egotistical shit going on where we're all just trying to make something better for the people? Yeah. And trying to make food the way it should be, and try and be at the cusp of something great. Yeah. So it was just a really fun night that we had.
That's awesome.
And it was totally cool. So like that's what you're saying is like we should all just work together. And if we could, we would. Like I think that we've broken down those walls in between people and broken down this animosity, this thing that chefs have between each other. And sure as shit, there's definitely still guys that are just like,
of course, yeah.
They don't want to contribute. They don't want to be a part of that. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to learn? Whatever. And but we're learning things to take, because everyone's going to, whatever. So I guess the idea of it is you come up with a concept, like whatever it might be, an ingredient, a plate, sausage, whatever the thing might be that night, the theme, and then we run with it and say, well, what will work? Why not try this? What do this? Do this? Do this? This? Do this? And the group of people that were there, we just fed off each other like it was it was amazing. Like,
that's really great. It's like a think tank, basically.
Exactly. And like, when you think of all these great chefs, they have test kitchens.
Yeah.
They have people.
Yeah, Momofuku has like a facility, basically.
Yeah, Jose Andres, the Think Group. Yeah. Like, they have people, right? All these great restaurants have people that are just trying shit. Yeah. That's all they do. That's what they get paid to do. And then the ideas get flowed into the restaurant. So why not have a group of Buffalo chefs that secretly meet up and say, this is what we're thinking about? Yeah. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to see, better food, better things happening because of this. And, collectively, we're all going to be better because we all think in different terms. We all think in different ways. And I think Krista at Buffalo Spree kind of nailed it on the head. We did an article together that was, in a roundabout way, kind of my idea was with, like, how do chefs come up with ideas, and how do they come up with the plating idea?
Yeah, I read that,
which was a great article because it's like so different. Like Ed has different, everyone has a different take on the way they do their thing. Yeah. So it's fun to all get together and say, like the other night was just, I mean, it got late quick. And we weren't even like, it's not like we're pounding beers or drinking heavily. Like, we were really talking the entire time. Like, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? And like vegan ideas were just like, all of a sudden we're talking about vegan food. It's like, and all of a sudden, like Anarchevsky, like everyone was just like on the same wavelength. And it was just so fun to break down the walls and say, let's just talk about food.
That's amazing.
It was all, dude, I'm telling you, man. And I think that, in every, especially in this city, I think we just need that. I think we need that camaraderie. And I think we have that. And I think that that's something that is reflective in the food in Buffalo, that we are a group of talented people that are working and feeding off each other to better the food in Buffalo and get away from this fucking chicken wing, fish fry bullshit stigma that Buffalo has evolved, that we are evolving, that we will continue to evolve.
Yeah.
The inspiration and the people that are here are really not, serving this bullshit anymore. Like we're really we're putting out food.
Yeah, we're ready to be on the national spectrum.
Yeah, and I think I think that that's the direction we're heading. I'm really excited about it.
Nice. I mean, have you personally noticed maybe diners over the last couple of years at Encore becoming more adventurous or
without a doubt
being interested in
like
that kind of stuff?
I try at my specific place I'm at now with Encore. I try and keep it, a contemporary American, and try and keep the food to where they understand it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, I don't want to give them something that they're just going to be like, what is this? I have a grilled kale salad right now that I think that, at first when I put it on the menu, people weren't buying it, and I was like, it's got a corn hazelnut vinaigrette, it's grilled kale, it's toasted ricotta salata, it's a real healthy salad, and I think with everybody's talking about kale, whatever, it's hot, and it took a while, but people are buying it now.
Yeah.
And I think that like what you're alluding to is with food TV and all these things, I think the average people are starting to become so food savvy, and like Wegmans.
Yeah.
All these places that you shop at with all our Bidwell markets, our farmer markets. I think people are really starting to understand we should be cooking at a level that's going to be reflective of what you're seeing on TV or what you're seeing and what you're exposed to.
Yeah.
And I think the average consumer is definitely being gaining more knowledge on a day-to-day basis than ever before.
Yeah, and not have that stereotypical thought about Buffalo where we're like 3 years behind everything.
Right.
Yeah, that we can be with the current trends. And
the only thing that sucks about Buffalo is our seafood. I wish we could. I wish our lakes weren't dead. I wish we could say that we have local, perch. I wish we could say that we have walleye. I wish that we could say that we have all these fish and that we could eat them, because if we had that, I think it would really change a lot.
Yeah.
Not saying that. Whatever, but just
no, that's a big
having
deal.
to import the fish. Like when you think about demographically and you think about where places are and they're using local fish and sustainable fish, and we can't. We can't because we fucked it up, and that's sad.
Yeah,
I'm a fisherman, and I just it's sad that that's what's happening.
Yeah,
that's what's happened.
Yeah,
and that's one thing I wish should change. But
yeah, I guess maybe however long it'll take.
I don't think we'll see it.
No, I mean, there's places like Massachusetts Avenue Project that are have a tilapia farm on their thing.
Yeah,
I mean, tilapia is tilapia.
Yeah,
but I mean, the idea that somebody in the West Side is raising fish is kind of crazy.
It's that whole collective is just kind of crazy. Having farms in the middle of the city. I love seeing this. I love I love what people are starting to do in this city, and I really think we're evolving, and I think that we are going in a great direction. But we'll never see seafood.
No, it's gonna be
that sucks.
Not in our lifetime.
No,
maybe down the road.
Hopefully. I don't know.
I think we pretty much covered a good swap of everything. I guess we can finish it up. I mean, what do you want to do in 2014 with Encore? Do you have plans or goals that you'd like to see happen over the next year or so?
Sure, I think everyone does. I'd like to use more local, sustainable farms. I'd like to use more local produce. I think everyone's.
That's big. I mean, a lot of places put it on their menu because people recognize names.
Alluding back to the little collective group that we had the other night, we had these carrots from Native Offerings, and I'll tell you what, I must have downed like 5 carrots because the carrot was so good. Like that's my biggest thing nowadays is like I feel like vegetables just don't taste the way they should anymore. And when you get these local organic things like carrots, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing.
We went to Oles like a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I literally pulled a carrot out of the ground,
Yeah.
like wiped it off and ate it, and it was like one of the best things I've ever had.
Right?
Yeah.
It's bizarre how
And it was
right.
like, what the
it's
hell
a
is-
carrot. But we've been so distracted by these carrots that it's just like as simple as it might be. It's
Yeah.
a carrot. We're talking about a carrot, but a carrot that I had from Native Offerings the other night changed me.
Yeah.
Like changed me.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this carrot is so fucking good. And we kept eating. Like I honestly downed like 4 carrots, and I was just like, man, these are so good. And what it was a roasted carrot. So yeah, I think we'd like to go in that direction and try and use some of these local farms and trying to go forward with that whole movement. Not that we haven't, but really kind of focus on that, and also try and focus on, as I said earlier, just kind of making the whole food scene better, and trying to introduce new dishes and new ideas to consumers in a way that they're going to understand it without being scared.
It's a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming down here.
Absolutely, man.
This is an
was
awesome
fun.
talk, and keep doing the good work that you're doing over at
Thank you.
Encore.
Thank
The downside of our life as a food blogger is we don't do a lot of repeat visits because there's always something I have to review.
Yeah.
But Encore is like on my we are way overdue to go back and try
Cool.
the place out. And I the first time I was introduced to you was at the Nickel City Chef.
Yeah.
And when you and Kate killed it, and
Yeah.
and you guys just crushed it, and ever since then I was like, God, I need to go back there.
Yeah, you got to
So,
come down, man.
yeah.
I look forward to it.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Thank you.